Given all that you've seen and read and understood about atrocities and global power, to what extent does what you've seen in the last year still shock you? Not in terms of the violence that's actually unfolded, but also in terms of the rhetoric around it and how it's been covered. And what do you think this all kind of means?
Listen, I mean, the US alone has been responsible for the murder of around 25 million people since World War II around the world, through its wars of proxy wars, etc. So, and all of these atrocities have been covered up by the Western media, very, very well. Yes, there is a difference that now this genocide is being live streamed, given the it's taking place at a time when the social media is everywhere. So perhaps it is different from wars that killed hundreds of thousands in Central and Southern Africa in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, or that killed millions in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, or in Indonesia in 65. And so if in those times there was sort of an anti-US media, perhaps spearheaded by the opposite camp, the Soviets, and the socialist camp, and some third world anti-imperialists, to speak about the atrocities that the US had committed. They didn't have the reach to in the West to reach sort of Western audiences and the Western populations. Today, it seems to me the live streaming of the genocide on social media has reached these populations in ways that nothing, Soviet propaganda could not, or counter American propaganda could not during the Cold War. And this is, of course, why we see the US being very assiduous and diligent in suppressing social media, whether the censorship on Facebook and on X, formerly Twitter, on TikTok, etc. They're ongoing, in addition, of course, to the formal censorship in the major US propaganda arms and major newspapers whose editors have instructed their writers not to use certain words like Palestine or refugees or refugee camps, about which I've written before to Middle East Eye. For me, it is that is interesting. That is an interesting sort of transformation, that people could ostensibly have access to information that counters the propaganda that is being put out by the US propaganda industry or its European allies propaganda industry.